Tyler the Creator is a rapper and producer who is known for being a former member of the hip-hop collective Odd Future back in the early 2010s. Now, he was known for being a very mouthy, aggressive, edgy, angsty, young rapper.
Then stab Bruno Mars in his goddamn esophagus and won't stop until the cops come in.
Especially during the songs on Bastard and the Goblin, that's the album. Wasn't a fan of these two projects, I have to admit, but you know, I thought Tyler was quite the entertaining MC in retrospect. Even though he showed an overwhelming sense of immaturity, that was kind of his shtick. However, in 2013 he did show a progression in terms of maturity when he released Wolf, although to an extent, because the first seconds of that album do kind of feature a neo-soul vocal singing the words, "You are a whore." However, Tyler did kind of tighten things up a little bit, focused on a lot of serious personal themes on this record, especially when it came to dealing with topics such as his father. And in 2015 he took a complete weird sort of sharp turn into the field of this lush, smooth, jazzy, neo-soul sort of sound, which kind of felt like a bit of a mixed bag, I have to be honest. Although I did think that Tyler had potential while venturing into this territory, so I thought that if he did try to do it again, he still had that potential to make it work. Now, Flower Boy, on the other hand, is one of the best albums of the year, I have to be honest. I never anticipated to enjoy a Tyler the Creator project this much, but when it happened, I was so pleased. There's a fly in front of me and it's really annoying. Flower Boy caught a lot of buzz before it's released because of some leaked lyrics that allude to songs such as Where This Flower Blooms, as well as Garden Shed, where Tyler discusses openly his struggle with identity and specifically sexuality. And although this topic isn't actually an overarching theme of the album, identity is, but not specifically sexuality, it does kind of make me look back on Tyler's previous projects in a different light. It kind of sheds light on it in a different way, where even though it doesn't quite justify all the outcries of faggot in his previous work,
Wolf Haley robbing him, I'll crash that fucking airplane at that faggot nigga Bob is in it.
It certainly does kind of appear more as a person who has struggled with this sense of identity, so his coping mechanism could have just been making a lot of punchlines and making a big fuss out of it in just this very angsty and struggle-ish kind of way. However, Flower Boy is easily Tyler's most mature, concise, and just track for track, strongest project yet. It's as beautiful and as colourful and as lush as the album cover looks on this thing. A lot of the tracks take on this floral theme with plant life and flowers. Even Lil Wayne's verse near the end of this thing is very coherent and actually makes a lot of allusions to the flower theme. And I must say that the production on this thing is beautiful. From the beat switches during 911, Mr. Lonely.
Yeah, my thirst levels are infinity and beyond. Sipping on that lemonade, I need a Beyonce.
To the way that aggressive beat just slowly creeps up on you during the opening moments of Who That Boy. The string arpeggios during Where This Flower Blooms that form one of the most beautiful musical moments of 2017. All those waves of serene synths during the 1 minute 30 mark of Foreword.
Cause when I get put over, I usually play it cool. Cause I know what I'm driving is usually paid in full. And my ego and possessions will not let me be one B.
I don't know, there's just so many amazing moments in terms of the instrumentals on Flower Boy, and excuse the pun, but this album only continues to grow on me. Get it? Cause flower? Overall, Flower Boy is a venture into Tyler's struggle with identity and loneliness. I think this is an album about loneliness. And when you think about it that way, it's quite a somber album.
I'm gone and I'm finished, and I ain't seen my friends in a minute. I guess that nothing lasts forever.
Especially with the opening track Foreword, which starts off with a sample from that Sonic Youth mix of a song by Can. I can't quite remember which one it is. I'll put the title on screen. However, this track takes on this pretty interesting structure in terms of the lyrics, where Tyler asks a question during each line. However, each question relates to a word that was spoken in the last question.
How many cars can I buy till I run out of drive? How much drive can I have until I run out of road? How much road can they pave until I run out of land? How much land can it be until I run in the ocean?
How much cooler can I get before I run out of fans? How many fans can I get before they turn on the AC? Rex Orange County sings the hook on this track. It's a great opening to the album, and actually explicitly mentions that theme of loneliness, kind of commenting on how people have since departed from Tyler's presence, how those connections have been lost over time. It's quite a sad notion. On the next track, Where This Flower Blooms, I've already mentioned how beautiful the instrumental is on this one. And although this album continues to offer you a lot of beautiful cuts, such as the lovesick R&B song See You Again featuring Kylie, also featuring some singing vocals from Tyler himself, who proves to be quite a capable singer, although I guess it's because he multi-tracks his vocals, so he does kind of have that safety net in that regard. Or you've got Boredom, which is this very sad song, being in that state of not doing anything because you have nothing to do, you have no one to hit up and ask, hey, can we hang out? It's quite a sad cut on the track, even though it does sound very laid back and pleasant and very beautiful to the ears. Rex Orange County and Anna of the North do amazing vocal performances on here, and Rex specifically, who opens up the track, does this great job of channeling that feeling of boredom, lazing around on the couch all day, and the warped guitar tones on the instrumental really help to enhance that feel.
Find some time to do something.
And so yeah, aside from those slow jams, you also have some very, very aggressive tracks too, like I Ain't Got Time
for these niggas. Better throw a watch at the door. I have my boys in this bitch looking like a seminar. Who the fuck you talking to, motherfucker, boy? I ain't got.
As well as Who Dat Boy, Who Him Is, Who Dat Near, God I Swear.
Who that boy? Who him is? Him that nigga, I swear. Stand out guy, him don't need no chair. Well, where the fuck him at? Cause nigga, I'm right here.
Certainly an unexpected outburst of aggression on an album that seemed to kind of not have that aggression anymore, but I think it makes the more somber moments on this album seem even more somber by comparison. As well as the fact that Who Dat Boy is, aside from being incredibly catchy, it also seems to kind of replicate the comments that have been directed at Tyler. However, these aggressive cuts don't feel out of place on the album at all. The thing is, this album flows from track to track like just so seamlessly. Just every transition between tracks just manages to make, even flowing from a slow jam to an aggressive cut, just so, it just feels natural, right? There really isn't a moment on this album that didn't enthrall me or just didn't flourish musically. Aside from maybe the final track, which is kind of this instrumental cut, Enjoy Right Now Today, although as an instrumental cut, it is kind of this beautiful, lush conclusion to the album that takes place after the track Glitter, which is very nice for its first half, but I guess when it slows down and becomes all warped during the second half, I feel a little lukewarm on that bit. Still, I think the phone call sort of thing at the end there,
we didn't get your message either because you were not speaking or because of a bad connection.
it is kind of this really clever moment where Tyler is very aware of the fact that a lot of people will, you know, the message will fly over their heads, and I will be honest, for a lot of people, it has. Plus, the final moment on this album that features the Enjoy Right Now Today instrumental outro is actually quite a really touching moment on second thought, considering its title, and following that little voicemail clip. Enjoy Right Now Today is kind of just his admittance of the fact that people are going to be ignorant to his message. And so with this track being as lush and as satisfying and pleasing to the ears as it is, it's kind of this like comforting admittance of identity, kind of saying, I've come to terms with who I am, and I've also come to terms with the fact that not everyone is going to get me. That's just inherently something that happens. I'm just going to be myself. And it's a really touching moment, as through the album, Tyler seems to struggle and kind of wrestle with these ideas, and it's not until the very end where Tyler actually kind of makes that admittance and kind of overcomes that feeling of loneliness for himself. Something else I noticed about this album was just how self-critical Tyler the Creator is. He's very self-aware, and even on the track November, he actually references previous tracks. in this whole self-awareness that Tyler brings up, you've actually got a lot of references to materialism on the album. You actually get quite a lot of references to not just flowers on this album, but also things like cars, specifically the McLaren. And not only is it kind of something that he mentions as this luxury, being a symbol of wealth and just being just someone who's balling, someone who's rolling in it. But on several tracks, he actually references it as a means of actual movement and actually moving around and even escaping, especially on the track Pothole, which in which that entire track is kind of structured around this drive. The hook kind of references, watching out for the potholes, not getting stuck in these traps. The references on Where This Flower Blooms as well as Pothole actually make a lot of sense. No, they don't just come off as some random, unnecessary ad-lib or something. I actually think that was really clever, a really clever way of kind of using that ad-lib for something that actually means something that's quite sentimental, powerful, emotionally striking. And there's no shortage of moments that are like that on Flower Boy. It's just that idea in particular really kind of stood out to me because it's just really clever. However, even if you've never been a Tyler fan and you're watching this review, do give this a shot because Tyler is at a creative peak, really. He flourishes in just every field that he's in, as a producer, as a rapper, just being a musician in general. He is able to flourish just in the fields of R&B and hip-hop, neo-soul, whatever. It's just amazing, and he reaches this peak of maturity in his lyrics as well. Being able to cover something that conceptual and in a way that is so compelling and so personal and it's just so enthralling. Just giving an idea of where he's at, but also providing this window into his struggle with identity and the public eye and loneliness as well. It is quite a somber album at times, but incredibly beautiful. There isn't even a bad cut on here. Even the track with Jaden Smith, I really like that track. Jaden Smith has a great feature on it. I'm giving this album a 9 out of 10. What? Really? A 9? What?